Warning if bombs are armed and maybe dropped. Pappa CARRY tells me the story from when he was in Vietnam. Okay. He's out with his Marines, and they're moving from one village to another, which is what they did all the time. And somebody calls a halt to the march and calls for lunch break. And okay, Dad's sitting here. Right here is a Marine, American Marine, and right across from them, apparently here and here, is uh, a South Vietnamese Army regular and a Kit Carson scout. Now I'll get to that in a minute. The Marine interpreter, the two Vietnamese, they're talking, and the Marine interpreter, he's listening in, nods his head. Sooner or later, Pappa CARRY turns to him. What are they talking about? Yeah, I'll tell you about the Kit Carson Scouts. The Kit Carson Scouts were North Vietnamese and Viet Cong uh, fighters who defected to the South during the war. They were called Kit Carson Scouts because of the reference to Kit Carson and his association with the Indian Scouts. So this guy over here, he knows exactly what he's saying as he's talking about what's going on with the North and with the Viet Cong. Okay. So the Marine, he's sitting there and he's listening, and he says, the Arvin, the South Vietnamese soldier, asked the Kit Carson scout, why do they keep fighting? And the Kit Carson scout is saying that the North Vietnamese are feeding them the propaganda, all the propaganda coming from the United States. All of the news stories about the American people who oppose Americans who oppose the war in Vietnam, and they keep telling us all we have to do is just keep fighting long enough and hard enough, and sooner or later we'll win, and the Americans will go home, and we'll win the war. I cannot emphasize this statement enough, and I'm not even going to try. Anybody who provided aid and comfort, even if it's only in the form of propaganda, to the enemy during the war should be treated as an enemy combatant, and more importantly, as a saboteur. Another little story, and this is from World War II, and this is public record, so don't even try and tell me I'm making this shit up. It was a group of about six, I think it was, German soldiers. They spoke perfect English. They spoke perfect American English. The Germans had in their possession a couple dozen American POWs, a couple of dozen military police POWs. These guys were stripped of their uniforms, were stripped of their arms. That's normal uh, in a war. As a matter of fact, not stripping them of their uniforms at some point can become a war crime. Uh, and it's also easier to track POWs if they're wearing a POW uniform. But anyway, so these six English, perfect American English speaking Germans were brought together, and they were given military police uniforms from the POWs' stripped uniforms, right down to the plastron, I believe it's called. It would say MP. These were a particular group of MPs. Most people don't realize during World War II, U.S. Army military police were actually divided into, I think it was 5 branches, one of which was forward traffic control. Their only job was to make sure American vehicles were headed in the right direction based on where they were supposed to go. So these guys, they went behind American lines and they started moving signs around. A sign that says, Bow Camp, 2 miles, turn left here. Now it said boat camp to the left, or to the right rather. It still said 2 miles, but you're not headed towards boat camp. You're headed the exact opposite direction. They actually guided American military vehicles through one of these checkpoints, telling them, yeah, come on, go this way, right into German anti-tank guns. When we finally caught them and figured out who they were all tied to poles and summarily shot. They weren't even tried. There was a tribunal, but that tribunal, as far as I know, the highest ranking American there was a lieutenant colonel. It was strictly are these guys German saboteurs? Yes. This is what happens to saboteurs, and that is international law. So go ahead. Try and say that that's all evil and awful. Anybody who gives aid and comfort or assistance to an enemy is a traitor, and those who give propaganda are saboteurs. Keep calm and mandatory carry on.